Say you're ready to spend for a premium mid-range phone. At the moment, two of the hottest phones right now are the Nothing Phone 2A and Xiaomi's Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus. There's a significant price difference between the two, but they are still worth comparing, especially if you have the budget to go all premium mid-range. Now, having used these phones as my daily driver for several weeks, despite the price difference, there are still reasons to get the more expensive Note 13 Pro Plus over the more affordable phone to weigh, and vice versa. So here are my thoughts. Both phones are great. I think you can go wrong with the kind of quality you're getting regardless of which phone you choose to buy. If I were to pick a phone between these two, I would get the Nothing Phone 2A for its design and software, while I would get the Note 13 Pro Plus for the display and camera. That's it. But let me explain further. You should pick the Nothing Phone 2A if you don't mind living with a mediocre camera, because this phone's greatest features are its design and software. Despite the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus having a mature and probably the best design yet of its lineup, it's still the same glass slab that you get from other phone makers. Unlike the Nothing Phone 2A, the transparent backing not only makes it unique, but the functional LED lights, aka glyph, make it stand out amongst the rest. They're customizable. You can literally create and set your ringtone using the glyph composer. It also acts as a visual countdown when setting a timer. And if you want something a bit common to your usage, you can have the glyph sync with the audio playing regardless if it's just music or a video. You can also set a specific ringtone per contact if that's what you're into. These may not be great features, but they are good and functional features if you take your time to learn and utilize them. Now, Nothing OS is a bit different compared to Xiaomi's HyperOS, formerly known as MIUI. Comparing the two, Nothing OS is a mix of stock Android and Nothing's monotone skin. Although the features and how the settings are laid out for you resemble stock Android, the UI is heavily customized from the icons to the font and the widgets. This is the default look of Nothing. But if you want to go back to the standard look of Android with the colors and all, you can still do that in the settings. What's great about Nothing OS though is that there are little to no ads and you're not bombarded with a ton of features that you mostly won't ever use. But really, the best part about this comparison is that you don't get the aggressive killing of background apps that causes notifications to arrive late. As far as performance goes, both phones are sporting practically the same Dimensity 7200 regardless of whether there's Ultra or Pro in their names, meaning that you're getting the same level of performance when playing games or any singular intensive task like video editing or rendering. The difference will lie in how the respective skins perform in day-to-day use, and as far as my experience goes, both perform equally well. However, given the years of experience Xiaomi has under its belt, I did notice the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus to be more consistent and stable. That's not to say the Nothing Phone 2A is laggy and all, but I noticed more frame drops on the 2A. But if you're looking for a work phone, something you will rely on when it comes to keeping up with work and being on top of communication, although both are capable of that, I must say that the Nothing Phone 2A has an advantage because it is less likely to receive delayed notifications. This is actually where the glyph comes clutch. So when the phone is facing downward, you can set an essential notification in the settings so that the glyph will remain turned on when you have missed a notification. For example, I have my Facebook Messenger marked as essential, so even when I miss a notification, it gives me a signal that I have an important notification needing my attention. What if you're a content consumption king? You like to watch a lot of videos and edit a lot of photos on your phone. Well, the good thing is that both displays of these phones are technically great. These are 6.7 inches phones, both rocking AMOLED panels with 120Hz refresh rate and Dolby Vision support. Both are also with the always on display feature, but the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus needs you to tap the screen to activate it, while the Nothing Phone 2A is actually always on. Perhaps the biggest deciding factor between the two is the fact that Nothing uses a more conventional flat panel while Redmi looks sleeker with its curved sides. This is going to come down to preference, so that's up to you, but in terms of actually using these displays, I found the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus with a better panel. It's brighter outdoors, and the peak HDR brightness is about 500 nits more than the Phone 2A. I do like curved displays. I don't mind them, but even if this was a flat panel, I would still prefer the Redmi's display over Nothing's. Now what about the cameras? Out of all the specs and features, the cameras are the biggest difference between the two, at least on paper. So the Nothing Phone 2a uses two 50-megapixel sensors, one for wide and ultra-wide, while the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus comes with a 200-megapixel main sensor, but with an 8-megapixel ultra-wide and the 2-megapixel macro. Despite the massive difference in megapixel count, let's not forget these phones use the same chipset, meaning they have the same image signal processor or ISP that takes a raw image and processes it into a high-quality photo. It also means that it's going to be a battle of sensors and software tweaks from their respective developers. As far as the simple point and shoot goes, the number of megapixels plays a role here. Starting with the main cameras, the difference between the two is subtle. Most of the time, it's just a difference in white balance, but if we take a look at the colors, Nothing Phone 2a usually ends up with the one having more contrast. Perhaps a little too much in this comparison, since I found the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus more appealing to my eyes. There were times the Redmi phone had more contrast, but that's because the Nothing phone struggled with HDR. Nothing struggled a bit in this regard as seen from the blue skies that sometimes look inconsistent and pale. It is also inconsistent with portrait cutouts. They need to work more on this, to be honest. But when it comes to the ultra-wide sensors, that's where Nothing 2a excelled thanks to the higher resolution. Although I was expecting a huge and noticeable difference between 50-megapixel and 8-megapixel, Nothing 2a still did a good job in providing sharper ultra-wide photos, and sometimes having better colors as well. There are no dedicated telephoto lenses on these phones, but the 2x mode or digital crop doesn't look good on either device, and sometimes one is better than the other, so I kinda guess it's a tie here. Switching to videos, both are capable of recording up to 4K at 30 frames, but only the Nothing Phone 2a lets you go that far with the ultra-wide camera. So as expected, the ultra-wide sensor had better details and sharpness, but in exchange, the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus had the better dynamic range since it's only recording at 1080p. But for the main cameras, the difference is very small. Maybe the Nothing Phone 2a is a bit over-sharpened at times, but the most noticeable thing for me is that the 2a overexposes the highlights and whites a little too much. At the very least, the video quality you're getting here is close. But the photos are a different story. I think you're going to get better photo quality on the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus more often than the Nothing 2a, which isn't surprising since Xiaomi made this phone for camera users. But that's really what you need to know about these phones. I think the rest of the specs are considered a bonus already, since very small of us are buying a phone for the speakers or the charging speed. But if you should know, the Nothing 2a's 45-watt charging speed doesn't hold a candle versus the 120 watts on the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus. You just need to wait 20 minutes to go from 0 to 100%, making Redmi 3 times faster than Nothing. Additionally, the 120 watts is already included in the box for free. As for Nothing, you would have to buy the 45-watt brick separately. But that's it for this comparison. I hope this video helps, and if you have something to share, just let me know in the comments section. But that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel, and as always, until the next one, stay safe.